have another breakup, another divorce, it creates another bad experience in what you're having, where all you had to do was just be patient. I just think at the end of the day, I mentioned on unity and being selfless builds for a great relationship and a team. Friendship is always, always, always first and foremost. Like I want to be able to, for me, I need to find a person where I can just have talks, endless, 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 and shoot something off of it. But I've come to realize that when when one person is the main source and the other one can't bring something to the table, it creates an imbalance. So if I'm reading books and I'm sharing information, but I come to you with something and you can't give nothing back, I don't think that's a a good relationship if you can't do that. Or if I'm purpose driven and I want to see what's your aspirations and what's the things you want to do in life and how can I assist you in your goals. You're helping me with mine, but how can I do that? You can't just live inside of my vision, because what I've come to realize is that everybody, if your purpose naturally folds in it, then that works. But if somebody doesn't have one, or they don't have vision or something like that, a lot of times they start resenting the other person for living their dreams and living their aspirations and doing those things. So I believe everybody should have their part that they play. Now, could you be a purpose, have somebody have a purpose and it folds in, then great. But if it don't, still find something for yourself that you had already. I believe that wholeheartedly.
From your aspect, because you've been in relationships, you've been married and stuff, what would you say really has been the defining moment, I guess, for you to make a decision for now to be single? Or are you just being single because you have not found that right person?
I think I'm just being patient, but then also in this process too, I've found a purpose. So it's gonna take a strong and special individual to be able to stay inside of a vision that's requiring a lot of me right now. So I don't think it's not the right one, because I'm not opposed to getting married again, and I just really believe it's just multiple things, man, because it is a lot of demand on me right now. And sometimes some people just can't understand that. And when you carry a vision or a purpose, anything that gets in the way of that becomes a problem to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? As opposed to just supporting the vision. So the ones who can support it and be there is going to always be good. But that's why I also believe, though, too, you have to attract the version of the person that you want to be with. So most likely it's going to be somebody very goal oriented, somebody who's very selfless, that gives to others willingly and not, really be upset at the moment or being selfish. Because I honestly believe anytime in my experiences in relationships that basically the minute they go bad is when one person becomes selfish. Mm-hmm. You got to really keep working to outgive the other person, so it's always got to be a selfless thing, and it's got to be in a place of being a servant, because if you want to be great, you got to be willing to be a servant of everybody that you come in contact with. First and foremost,
Jesus said, yes.
Yeah. That's what it's going to take.
So, you were talking about, okay, so now you're really focused on your purpose and your vision, and that's what's driving you. And when you were talking about that, I immediately went back to Genesis, when God made Adam, and then he gave him his purpose, and then he brought his wife. And I think, for me, from a female standpoint, I think the reason why some men cannot commit is because they don't first know their purpose. So God gave Adam Eve as a helpmeet when Adam already knew what his purpose was, what his vision was supposed to be, what he was supposed to be doing in the garden, and then he needed a helper for that. So do you as a man feel like men need to know their purpose before they can really get that woman, and how do they really come to find out what their purpose is?
That was a few different questions.
I know, I just threw it all out there. Don't ask me to repeat it because I don't know.
So I'm gonna go with what you got. First and foremost, purpose. You'd have to self-search, and that's just something that's spiritual, divine, meditation, prayer, and however you seek it. But the best way I can say, if you don't do those things, is find something that brings life to you, that you get up every day, and if you never got paid for it, you would still do it every single day. And for me, I know my purpose, no matter what avenue it is going to always to help people. It's going to always to empower and build up. If it's my community, the ones around me, that's going to always be something that I can do. With on top of that, making sure I leave something for my children to hold on to, and something that will pass down through generations. So finding that purpose is just really on the person finding, really that thing that drives them, that they want to make sure that they can make a change in the world for themselves and for others. So yeah, I would say that. And we said how you can find it, so it's through prayer and meditation. Do I feel that you got to have your purpose first before you find a woman? I believe that would be the right order to do it, because what happened in my aspect of life is that I didn't know my purpose, and when I started finding it already after I was in a relationship, it grew. It created a division. You know what I'm saying? Because I wanted to pursue those things, and there was a lot of things that was hindering it. And when you start growing and elevating, and you start pursuing things, and the other person's not doing the same thing you're doing, you tend to grow apart. So you want to just make sure that it is sometimes good to have that purpose, but I believe if the person is right, and if everything works out, then you could actually build together if you find the right person. But a lot of times we're not the person who we was when we were 19 or 20, when we're 30, 35, and 40. So a lot of times you evolve and you change over life, and unless y'all can stay together and continue to work, because forever a relationship's going to be two individuals merging together and trying to make things work together, but you're still two individuals in my aspect. So when those things happen, so I'll put it like this: if you're in a relationship, things start to dry up when you don't continue to create new or elevate or grow, because you lose things to talk about. There's only so much you could talk about with a person when you learned everything about them, or if they're not willing to open up and be fully, transparent with you. Like some people got some skeletons in the closet that they're going to take to their grave because they've never found the right person to release that with. But that's why a lot of good and bad things is about, people marrying their friends and stuff like that. Because a lot of times when you're friends way before with no sexual tension, then you learn everything about this person, and then you can make the evaluation for yourself.
Right.
So yeah, it just comes down to that. If a man knows his purpose ahead of time, it's kind of easier for the woman to already understand where he's coming from. So right now, I think a lot of times I deflect a lot of people because I'm pursuing this thing, and do they understand what I'm doing, and are they willing to be selfless right now? Because let's just put it, about maybe 5 years ago, I was looking for a relationship. You know what I'm saying? I was looking. And at that point, I stopped looking and I started working on myself and pursuing a purpose. And now I'm on the other end, and it seems like, okay, well, will it happen? Will it not? I'm not going to force it.
Right.
And then I honestly believe somebody who lives the same type of lifestyle as me will understand and be a lot more understanding of what's going on.
Yes.
But it'll come in due time.
It will. And she will have to go through me and my sisters. Yes.
And as for me, I want to always be a leader in my household and for my family and do things. So even within me, right now in this time of my life, I believe too that it could be, one of those things. I do put a lot of y'all in the forefront right now, because I didn't get to do it back then, So now that I can, a lot of times it's you, my sisters, my girls, my grandma, my mama, family members. So I do a lot of things for everybody else, and a lot of times it takes a very understanding person, which I would understand too. If you could be able to do it and you could start being in the forefront of your family, you're actually changing generational curses.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just a lot, and it just takes a very understanding person in a relationship. Relationships are not easy. Mm-hmm. They're not easy at all. And being in one, was married 12 years and together 14. You know what I'm saying? So it was a good time I was in a relationship, and it's a constant checking yourself and sacrificing yourself for the greater good. But you want to make sure your spouse is willing to do the same for you. And but yeah, I just really think right now, still single is I'm just being patient, pursuing my goals and my dreams, and something that if I would have done earlier in life right now, this would have been more focused on relationship and stuff like that. So
I just keep hearing, what I need from you is understanding.
that escape on it. Yeah.
Yes.
You gotta definitely, man, first and foremost, and that's another thing that people have to understand. You gotta first seek to understand before being understood. So many times people are looking for the next thing to say to the person, or the next rebuttal, or the next thing, as opposed to understanding it from their viewpoint. And not naturally men are not communicators, you know what I'm saying? We're not ones to really communicate. I had to learn communication by reading books and stuff and understanding, you know what I'm saying, the love me, don't leave me, the 5 love languages of how people operate and do things. So now you know how to communicate love to another person, because like while you over here trying to spend time, they want some gifts, or they want you to go wash their car, or they want you to take something off their plate. And over time, the crazy part about it with people too, with the 5 love languages, is that your love languages change. Because before, to be totally honest, man, I was quality time is still the same, but I was physical touch. Now I'm moving over to acts of service is first and foremost. Quality time. I think somebody gonna take some stuff off my plate. Like that plate be full. You know, you love me, you're gonna take some of this stuff off my plate. You're gonna take some of these duties, help me out. So it does change over time, and people are always evolving. And then another book that I read that helped me to understand women was The Woman's Brain, and it was actually referred to me by my cousin Kevin, and he was telling me about the book, and it was really good to help me to understand how women could say something, you know, can say something to you, but then in the next minute, that's how they feel in that moment. But let's just use, for example, in the moment you're being told by your woman that you need a new car, but basically that's good in the moment. But when you're struggling over here financially, they're not happy with that car no more, because it's like, yo, this is causing issues. So it's like, but wait a minute. With men, it's very, you know what I'm saying, it's literally, that's what you told me, so that's what I'm going to do. But in The Judgment, it was another book, and that was that I heard on the Breakfast Club when Nipsey Hussle and Charlamagne was talking about it. Laura London referred it to them, but it's called The Way of the Superior Man. And what it helps to entwine with that book, helps you to understand, is that in The Way of the Superior Man, you got to understand in that case, if your woman tells you, let's get a new car, but you know financially you're going to be in the hole and you can't even pay for it, at that point you got to be willing to stand strong and be like, all right, in this moment we can get that new car, but in this very moment it's not a good idea, because it's going to ultimately put us behind or make us lose the house and things of that nature. So let us stack it up and, you know, and do what we need to, and whatever we have right now, let's just go ahead, since we own these cars, just get them fixed. You know, that's the best thing. But as a man, you still got to make sure all them cars is running though. You know what I'm saying? So you got to get the maintenance in checked and all that. Make sure all the cars are running, the air conditioning work if it's a hot place.
Yes, please, Jesus, air condition.
Air condition. You make sure them cars is washed and gassed and stuff for them. So best foreplay is to take care of the light bills and all the all the stuff. Make sure everything rolling in the house. So you want to make sure you do that. But on top of that, you still got to be emotionally and physically there for the woman as well. Make sure that you're not just one area or aspect. Financially is good, but physically, emotionally, mentally, being there for the person. Because what I've also learned as a man, I'm a fixer. Like, you tell me something, I want to go fix it. But in my understanding now, as I've grown older and reading, that women most of the time already know the answer. They just want you to listen. So like, you don't go in fixing mode. You got to just sit back and be like, all right, let me, all right, so, you know, what is it that I can do to help you in this aspect if you need it? If not, then I'm here for you as a listening ear. You know, you just got to make it through the story, because there's going to be some rabbit trails sometimes.
Right.
They're going to tell you about the whole aspect of everything. And sometimes
what color they was wearing.
Exactly. So you just gotta be patient. You gotta be patient and listen, and then just enjoy the story. So, yeah, that's some of the aspects. I know we've talked about quite a few things, but all of those play a factor into why men commit or not commit, and I'm sure there's so many other aspects as well. I look forward to hearing why women commit or not commit. That's definitely interesting. I love understanding another person's perspective.
We definitely will do that. On that note, I definitely think that commitment is a very hard subject for people to deal with, and I know there are a lot of women out there trying to figure out why they've been with this man for 10 years and he won't commit to them and they can't get a ring. And so I hope this video helps you to understand that maybe things like that, childhood stuff that you need to deal with. So I am going to link all of those books down below for you to go ahead and check those out. If there's anything that, if you guys want him to come back and share any other man's perspective on stuff, I can definitely do that too. So thank you guys for tuning in. Go ahead and leave your comments below. And if you like what you heard, please like this, share it with your friend, and subscribe. And I will see you on the next one.